friends to talk to. They don't have, you know, they don't have games, extracurricular activities. The student association is not able to function properly, so they cannot sit in the canteen. So there's a lot of stress that they are going through. uh, for that purpose, I thought that if we have a hearing aid for them, that a place where they can, where they can just call and talk about their issues. So that's the main purpose behind it. Then I did a little bit of research. We had tried doing a similar concept last year in Changbana College, and the response was pretty good. So earlier I had these, I was not very sure whether students will be open to sharing with the teachers, but it seems that it worked well. So that's why, so today we are going to have a very short small session where we tell you what are the basic counseling skills, what are the basic issues that children might come up with. So you are all the identified special teachers that the principals have identified, and you will be the mainstay, the main agent of this entire idea. So the entire thing rests on you. And the idea is just to be able to serve our students, our children better. And when I was doing reading up on this, I also realized that it's not just about COVID. Let's not don't think only in terms of COVID, that is the child having any COVID related issues? Is he positive? Is there somebody in the family who's positive? COVID actually is a state of life now which has affected every part of life. So they encourage them to just talk about anything. Encourage in the sense that they will only approach you. You don't have to do anything from your end. But in case they do approach you, we'll equip you on how to handle that. And if you feel that there is some student who needs a higher degree of psychological help, if there is some more serious case which you feel requires a higher level of understanding, then we will attach one resource person with every college, and you can discuss with him or her, or refer that student to this resource person. So let's try to keep this very crisp and short. And I understand that there's a lot of online work that you have to do these days, and it's taking a big mental toll on everybody. But hopefully we will be able to go offline soon, and then we can probably have an offline session in which it can be more interactive. We can talk to each other and get a better understanding of this. Till that time, I think if we have this pilot mode launch first, we'll know what are the problems, what are the things we need to improve on. So that's mainly what I want to talk about. So the structure is that we've identified, so we have, right now we are doing it for the Aizawl colleges. We have, in every college, we have identified mentor teachers who will then be connected with the students. So every student will be mapped to a mentor teacher. And if he or she is feeling any kind of issues, he can contact you through an online mode. It will either be through WhatsApp or through a call. It will not be a physical one-to-one because of the COVID pandemic. And you can, and a lot of the issues that students have are not very complicated. And since we've all been through that stage, we understand that there is a larger picture to life. And when you are in the situation, it looks very big. So a lot of those issues you will be able to handle at that level itself. And otherwise, you will have that resource person to go to. And we can take a review after a couple of months to see how it's working, what more is needed. Earlier, I had also thought of maybe getting an external agency to do this. But I realized that it will not be really possible for an external agency to understand the meso context. If you are sitting in a Delhi or a Bombay or a Bangalore, it's very difficult to understand a student who is here, the kind of challenges that he faces here, the kind of society that you're living in. It's very unique. So that is why I felt that it is better that we have a local solution. And also, when they are talking in Mizo, that is the point where they will be most comfortable. So that is why let's give it a try on our own first, and hopefully, if it works, we can scale it to the other colleges outside as well. Also, some of them have given very good response. Lontlai College wanted to join today also, so we'll rope them in also pretty soon. So we're going to have two sessions basically, and about 1 hour each. It will not be, we will not stretch it too much so that your attention span is maintained. So the first one will be on counseling, that is basic counseling skills and the characteristics of an efficient counselor. So while I understand you must be feeling that we already have so much of work and this is another thing added, I think it will be interesting for you because you're all parents also. So, and a lot of times as parents, even if you just leave this whole thing aside, as parents also, there is a lot of times there's a generation gap, and especially with the new technologies now coming in, you feel that how do you react to a certain thing or how do you help your child? So it will not just, don't take it just as a purely duty kind of thing. I think it will be a good exposure to us of learning something new, something very, very much practical, and something that affects all of us. We have so much of medical science to look after our physical health, but there's so much of things going on in our mind which we just ignore, and we are just living with those things. So a lot of my friends who are living outside of India, they have a therapist. So, and a lot of small things that are coming in their mind, they just go and talk it out and the problem is gone. Whereas for us, we keep on thinking about it and it becomes bigger and bigger, while if you look from the outside, it may not be that big. So it's a small little effort towards making mental health a mainstream agenda. And it's a first step. Let's see how it goes, and we can then take it to different parts and departments. So the second, so we'll have the first session will be approximately 50 minutes of the session, and then 10 minutes of question and answer. So in case you have any queries, you can write it down and we can take those at the end. And then we have the second session, which will be on mental health and mental illness and psychological first aid. So here we'll talk about the different topics, different issues, different basic problems and issues that affect young adults. So I'll invite Dr. Juliet to now take over so that we can get into the session, and I'll be here only, and I'll come back with you at the end of the two sessions. So over to you, Dr. Juliet.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Sorry. Okay. Respected director, principals of colleges in Aizawl, my colleagues at Trangmana College, and all the selected mentors for colleges from colleges in Aizawl, a very good afternoon to you all. I feel privileged to be standing here in front of you as a resource person on this online training on counseling and mental health organized by the Directorate, Higher and Technical Education, Government of Mizoram, and Government Trangmana College, Department of Psychology. I hope and pray that my presentation will make you realize the important roles we teachers have in the lives of our students, and that we are in a position to improve the lives of our students. So this presentation is not going to make us, a very good counselor as such, but this presentation is made in such a way that we understand the requirements of being a counselor, the requirements of being a good counselor, and what are the skills required in counseling. So this is like an awareness on the process of counseling, specifically psychological counseling. So we all in our lives, in our work with our students, we must be aware that many of our students are facing problems, especially now with the pandemic and with this lockdown, that we are facing. Many of students are facing emotional problems. So I just want all of us to realize that we can do something for our students, even though we may not have, offline classes, we may not be able to interact with them, but there are things that we can do to improve their lives. Some of the students, we do now we do online counseling. We can't do offline counseling. So some of the students that come to me, are having the main problem relationship now, the family, the whole, he felt in his life. And then after, after communication. So if we, this presentation that I'm going to make is, with the intention of realizing the importance of counseling. So with that, I will start the presentation. I hope, we do, may God help all of us, and may God bless our program. So I will share my slide with you. Okay, my topic is on basic skills of counseling. So I'll come directly to the first slide. And as I come to the slide, I will be explaining some of the points. I will be giving more stress on some of the points, but some of the points I may be rushing through it because we have limited time, and all the points will not be relevant for all of us because we are not professional counselors as such. But it is important that we are aware about the the processes in counseling. Okay, let's start with this question. Why do people come to us for counseling? So people come to us for counseling. The people who come to us are psychologically healthy, but emotionally stuck. They may have developmental situational, emotional life, transitional issues, etc. They want to face their daily problems. Some may come with emotional problems. No one understands people in crisis, interpersonal and intrapersonal problems, to live more productively, to adjust to a new state of life, to be helped to make decisions, to use their potentials and opportunities, etc. So they come to us not with, those, like our director had just said, these students, they have emotional problems. They don't have, let's say, the majority, they don't have that extreme psychological problems as such, but they have, emotional problems. Okay, they may have anxiety problems, stress issues, adjustment problems. Those are the issues that they come up, they the problems that they have, and those are the problems that they bring to us. So usually in the college scenario, students, freshers, they come from a very different environment, from the school environment to the college environment. So many of them will have problems, and some of them will have problems that will linger on and that will be intensified. And these are the students that need help. Some of them may overcome their problems easily, but for some, it will be difficult for them to overcome. So these are the students that will require counseling. So it is important that we identify those students who need counseling. So when they come to us, what should we do? This is very important because we just can't brush them off. They come to us with a problem, we just can't ignore them. We have to do something. It is our duty. I feel it is our duty for every student, for every teacher to, to do something about the problem. So what can we do? You understand them, you listen to them, help them have new insights and perspectives, motivate them, improve the quality of life, make a difference in their lives, help them have right choices and decisions, develop more adaptive thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So when they come to us, we must try to understand them, even if we don't try to, if we don't understand issues, but we must try to understand them. And listening to them is very important. Even if you are not, a skilled counselor, it is important that you listen to them. Listening is very important. Many of them want to be heard. Like I had told you about the incident of some of my students who come to me for counseling. They have family issues. Some family issues are so, you may not believe it, that, they're living in such family situations. They want to be heard. There's nobody to hear them in the family. They want somebody to just listen to them. So we can listen to them. So by listening to them, we can, minimize the emotional impact that their family problem is having on them, or the relationship problems that they're having, interpersonal problems. Listening is a very, one of the most important skills in counseling. And we can motivate them, okay, then improve the quality of their life. And so this is what we can do when they come to us. And it is also what we should do when they come to us. They come to us with a problem. So we have to understand that. So we all have innate desire to help others. It can be complemented by doing it more systematically and scientifically. It becomes part of our life and way of life. So all of us are born with the desire to help others. So when we help others, have you realized that, there is that feeling good experience in you? Okay, so when you help others, you feel good. You can't explain it, but that experience is there, because that is because we are born with a desire to help others. So, and this also, and I would like to say here also, is that, and we have that desire to, to be heard. So when we have problems, we want somebody to hear our problems. And when somebody hears our problem, we feel relieved. So this is our innate character. As human beings, the innate desire to help others and the desire to be heard. This is very much part of counseling. So every person longs to be heard. Every person longs to be understood without being judged, labeled, categorized, and evaluated. This is very important. We keep on judging people. We keep on labeling people. None of us want that. None of us want to be judged. None of us want to be labeled. Okay, we just want to be heard as it is, as we are, just being heard. Okay, so that is very important in counseling, without judgment, listening without judgment. So let's come to the question, what is counseling? Counseling is a principled relationship characterized by the application of psychological theories with a set of communication skills. So counseling is not an ordinary relationship. It is a principled relationship. It is bounded by theories. It is bounded by laws. It is bounded by do's and don'ts. You just can't go about counseling a person. You need to realize that it is a principled relationship. characterized by the application of psychological theories. So you need to be equipped with, psychological theories and with a set of communication skills. So you need to, develop these communication skills. Counseling requires skills. You just can't do it the way you want. You are bounded by rules in counseling. So, we may want to help a person, but if we don't have the skills of counseling, we may break the person instead. So we have to be very careful. So counseling is a process by which a troubled person, client, is helped to think, feel, and behave in a more satisfying manner through the interaction of an uninvolved person counselor who help the clients to help themselves, who facilitates to develop behaviors which enable him or her to deal more effectively with himself or herself and their environment. So I would like to say that counseling is a process. It may be a long process, it may be a short process, depending on the person, depending on the problem. It is a relationship between interaction between a client and a counselor. Okay, and many of the work is done by the client in counseling. And in counseling, the client is helped to help himself. Okay, it's not doing for the person, but empowering the person to take effective steps, to make decisions on his own. It's not doing for the person, but it is empowering the person. So counseling is not giving direction to the client. It's not giving advice to the client. Many of us think that in counseling, they will give me advice. They will tell me what to do and what not to do. That's not counseling. Counseling is empowering the person, bringing out his potential, making him realize that he has the potential to solve his own problem on his own. Okay, you can do it. That is the way. Not you should do this, you should not do this. That's not the way, but you can do it. Encouraging him. Okay, so a counselor does not have all the answers to all the problems, but a counselor will motivate the person to make his own decisions. Okay, excuse me 1 minute. Can you please, everybody, please mute your mics because there's much disturbance here. Can the host please mute somebody from, yeah, okay, thank you. So in counseling, one of the most important skill is listening. So I have said that, everybody wants to be heard. Okay, it's our innate nature to have the desire to be heard. So listening skills is very, very important in counseling. So let's look at what are the excellent counseling skills. This all of us can do, even if we are not, counselors. We are not professional counselors, but we can all do this. This is the, some of the skills that we can do. Listen twice as much as you speak. Attitude of your heart is more important than brilliant responses. Groan and make encouraging sounds. Use silence when the person is sharing feelings and you do not know what to say. Respond with care, extra care, and sensitivity for feelings. We have to observe also nonverbal communications. Good eye contact, not staring. It will intimidate them. Avoid other distractions like mobile phones. So in listening, what we must know is we have to give our full attention to what the client or the student with the problem has to say. If you feel that If he feels, if the client feels, if the student feels that you are listening, then he will be more relaxed to share his problems with you, and you will be on the path to, helping the person. So we have to listen twice as much as you speak. Don't speak much. You have to listen more, speak less. If you're a counselor, or if you want to help a person who is having problems, he wants to share with you, let him share with you. He's the person who wants to share. He's the person with the problem. You are the listener. You have to listen to him. You're not the speaker, remember? So you want him to, speak out all his problems to you. You want him to share his problems with you. Give him the opportunity. Don't interrupt him. And you have to encourage him to, to speak out more. So it's okay if you don't have anything to say. You don't have to say, but you have to remain, you have to use silence more in listening. The active participant in counseling is the counselee, not the counselor. The counselor does the listening. So we have to avoid all distractions, including our mobile phones. So listening is something very difficult, a skill that really has to be learned, because there are so many blocks for listening. So let's look at the 12 blocks for listening. The first is comparing. It makes it harder to listen because you are always trying to assess who is smarter, more competent, more emotionally happy, you or the other person. So if you keep on comparing, then you're not listening, because half of the time you're comparing. So half the information is going to be lost. Mind reading, trying to get to what is going on in others' mind, then giving attention to what the other is actually saying. He's saying something, but you're trying to get another information. You're trying to listen to another thing. So, but what is important here is just listen to what he is saying. Then rehearsing, another block, rehearsing. As the other is speaking, you're busy thinking of the answer you would like to give. I would tell him this and that, yeah, I would, so your mind is elsewhere, you're not, listening to what he's saying. Filtering. When you filter, you listen to some things and not to others according to the items selected. So in listening, you have to listen to everything, not some here, some there. Okay. So remember, in listening, if you start filtering, you're not going to get everything. You're going to get only some parts of the information. So as the person speaks, you are busy judging his statement as stupid, useless, etc. A basic rule of good listening is that judgments should be made after listening to all the facts and contents of the message are heard and evaluated. Okay, so judging will be made later. Evaluating will be made later. First, you get the information. Then dreaming. What the person says triggers off some private connections and you get lost in them. Okay, if you dream while the other person is saying something, definitely you're not going to get the information. All right, so we'll continue with the 12 blocks for listening in the next slide. Identifying. You take everything that the person says and refer it back to your own experience. So the person is busy relating his problems to you, but you are saying, oh, this used to happen to me also, like this, etc. In your mind, you're thinking like that. That is identifying. Okay, and that is another block for listening. Advising. As soon as you hear something about the problem, you start giving solutions and advice. Before you finish it, he's just starting his problems, sharing his problems with you, and you just give him advice. Oh, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Here's your mother. Here's your father. etc. You start giving advice. Remember, in counseling, you don't give advice. Then sparring, you start arguing and debating with the speaker. You have to understand, you have to remember that this is a counseling process where it is not a debating ground. Okay, because if you start debating, then you're not listening, right? So another block is being right. Being right means that you will go to any lengths twist the facts, start shouting, make excuses or accusations, call up past sins to avoid being wrong. You can't listen to criticism, you can't be corrected, and you can't take suggestions to change. So when the person is saying something and which is not, according to your, you don't like what he's saying, but you want to be, you know that what he's saying is not right, and you want to prove that you are right. So this will also block you from listening. Derailing, the block is accomplished by suddenly changing the subject. Derailing means when he's talking about his family, then you suddenly ask him other questions.
Can everybody please mute their mics? It becomes very difficult if she's disturbed in between.
Miss Juliet, I've muted everybody, so please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, audible.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. So
yes, Miss, you are loud and clear.
Okay. The other the last the 11th block for listening skill is derailing. The block is accomplished by suddenly changing the subject. So he's in one train of thought, and suddenly you ask him another about other topic, so that will also block you from listening. Placating, driven by the desire to please, you agree with everything that the other person says. Okay, so when you agree with everything he says, you're not actually listening to everything, because definitely there'll be things that you don't agree with him. You cannot, it's not normal, it's not possible to agree with everything. So if you agree with everything, that means you're not giving full attention to what he's saying. So these are the blocks of listening. So we come to the next skill in counseling, that is responding. So we just finished with listening. Now let's see the next skill, that is responding. So in responding, you can see 3 types of attitudes. The first 2 attitudes, that is authoritarian attitude, paternalistic or maternalistic attitude. These are not healthy in counseling. But the third one, that is companion attitude, this is something that has to be developed by counselors. So let's look at what is authoritarian attitude. It means I stay in my world and observe others' distress. I am an expert prescribing remedies. I'm an expert prescribing remedies. Like a critical father who corrects others, like a judge who evaluates a doctor who prescribes. This is not healthy. Authoritarian means, authoritarian attitude means that, I give distance. I have that attitude, it's his own world. That way. So, or it can be, I know best. You do this.
Can you just unmute yourself now? I just muted everybody else because of that noise that was coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. It would be very, very nice if all of us can mute our mics. The host will not, because it's giving in, it's making us lose time, unmuting, muting, and, like that. So please, everybody, just mute your own mics so that the hosts don't have to mute our mics. Thank you. So authoritarian attitude is like a critical father who corrects others. You know, you are wrong, you are right. You know, that attitude, that, you know, a counselor has to do away with that attitude. Then the next attitude that is not healthy is paternalistic or maternalistic attitude. That is one who tries to bring the other into his own world of safety and security. Like a hen that gathers its chicks. Don't worry, stay with me. I will take care of you. This is not healthy. In counseling, what a counselor must do is empower him to take his own action, not do it for him, but to empower him to make his own decision. Okay, so paternalistic or maternalistic attitude means I'll do it for you. It's okay. You know, your student comes to you with the problems and, oh, I'll call your father. I'll tell him. I'll call your teacher. I'll tell her. You know, that is paternalistic or maternalistic attitude. That is not healthy in counseling. And the third that is healthy is companion attitude. The helper moves into the world of the other and he becomes a companion in times of distress. So we can be companion in times of distress for our students. This attitude, I think all of us can develop. Okay, listening to them when they need to be heard. So, but he or she does not take the responsibility for the other, not making him dependent on him, on you, but listening to their problems and encouraging them to move forward, not doing it for them. Here we help the counselor to take decision for themselves. I am with you. Let me see if I can help you to deal with it yourself. As counselors, we have to develop this attitude. In counseling, we need the probing and questioning skill. We need to question them. We need to probe them to come up with the problems that they are facing. You know, most of them will not definitely say, I have a problem. You know, you have to speak to them and encourage them to share their problems. So how do we do that? We need to seek further information about the person or situation. We need to explore. To facilitate self-exploration, we need necessary details. We need more details, right? We need to facilitate them, you know, to share. So now we must learn how to question a person. Close questions like is, are, do, can will produce yes or no answers, not much information. Okay, then open questions that begin with what, how, when, which, where, could, would, will bring more responses on the subjects desired by the counselor. Ask small questions and get more answers. This is the method to be followed in counseling. What do you think? What would you like to talk about today? How did you feel when it happened? Could you give me more specific example? You can question like that. These are open-ended questions. Avoid why. So when we questions, we must avoid why, because like, tell me more about it. What do you think about her? This is going to be judgmental, right? What do you think more about? What do you think about her? It will lead to rationalize, seek for reasons, and can put him on the defense and to justify. So it's important to avoid the question why. Why questioning should be avoided. So questioning can, you know, follow this pattern. Never question a person out of curiosity. Never ask two questions at the same time. Never ask continuously. Less closed questions. Do not ask ambiguous questions without double meaning. Okay, it is not a question answer session. Therefore, there should be no interrogation. You know, it's not like a police scenario where they question the criminal. It's not that type of questioning. Okay, so these are what should be kept in mind when we use questioning. So another skill that has to be developed, you know, there are lots of skills, you know, being a counselor is, it requires so many skills. So this is paraphrasing. This is the main chunk of being a counselor. It is restating that the counselee has said in his or her own different words. To make this happen, you will have to assimilate, synthesize, rephrase, and restate back to the person. So we have to, whatever the person has said to us, we have to, paraphrase it. So we can use this formula. You say that your parents used to, for example, used to beat you, or you were not given food, etc., etc. You are saying that, you mean to say that, etc. So you can use these formulas in paraphrasing. This, for us, it might not be very relevant, but a counselor will definitely need this. Clarification, these are the other skills. I will just brush through them. Clarification, for greater specificity and clearer meaning, we have to clarify. When the client says he or she feels shy, we may not know exactly what shyness means for him or her. If we don't get that clearly, we will not rightly understand him or her. What seems to confuse you? Can you explain what you mean by "and everything"? Okay, so we need to clarify, because so when some things are not clear what he's saying, but you feel that there is danger in what he's saying, and you need to clarify, because you need to understand from the perspective of the counselee, not from your perspective. So, and everything may mean something for the counselee, it may mean another thing for the counselor. So you need to clarify. Summarizing, after the session, you summarize the whole thing in your own words, present summary of what has been said, put together the multiple elements of the message, identify the common theme. So I'll just rush through this because these are for professional counselors. Confrontation, when there are some contradictions or discrepancies in words, attitude, or behavior, the client has to be confronted or care confronted. So I will come to the law. We have to challenge the undeveloped, underdeveloped, unused, misused potentiality, skills, resources, and bring awareness. Confrontation in counseling should take place only in an atmosphere of unconditional positive regard and empathy for the client. By this confrontation, we are trying to nurture the client and not put him or her down. That is very important. Nurturing the client, nurturing the student with the problem, but not put him down. Personalizing, another skill, making the client realize his or her personal deficiency, or making him realize what he or she is doing or not doing that causes the problem is called personalizing. We may understand what is his or her share or contribution to the problem. It has to be made known to him that he has his fair share in the problem sometimes. Okay, and initiate means to initiate an action plan to achieve the goal. This is important. Initiating a goal for him to achieve. So how to initiate, make an action plan, the guidelines. This is very important, because counseling is not, I repeat, counseling is not advice giving, but what all of us can do is initiate an action plan for him. Change what can be changed. What cannot be changed must be accepted gracefully. Prepare for the worst. Prepare the clients to be happy, and smart goal. Okay, this a counselor will do. A professional counselor has to do this: diagnosing, evaluating, and terminating. Once a counseling session, goes on, it has its end. And counselors need to know that they have to end the sessions. They have to end the counseling process. Termination is very important. So I will skip this. Okay, code of ethics, because I think this is very important. Code of ethics, counseling, relationship, client welfare, and respect the dignity of the person. Sometimes it involves family also. Then confidentiality, very important. Respect the right of privacy. So when a person pours out his feelings, his innermost feelings to us, it is important that we maintain confidentiality. So for some of us may conduct, listening process. We may start listening to the problems of our students, and it is, it is very sad to know that when students share their problems with us, it is very sad that we share it with other teachers. You know, they come with us, they trust us, that, you know, they trust us with their problems. When they share their problems, you know, they have the desire, you know, they come with us in hoping that we will not share their problems with others. But we very often do this. When they start sharing their problems with us, their relationship problems with us, and we start sharing with the other teachers, and in that process, in that channel, you know, it comes back to the student. You know, this teacher said that you had relationship problem with this person, or you had suicidal tendency, or you have depression, and you know, for that person, he's not going to trust people anymore. He's not going to go to you know, to pour out his problems, and we can break the person instead of making him, instead of empowering him. We can break the person instead of helping him. Okay, so confidentiality is very important. So, but there is exception to confidentiality. Legal report: client poses threat to himself or to others. If he comes with suicidal tendencies, you know, we will not share it with others, but we will refer him. We will we will call other experts, consult other experts in this case. Okay, so this is exception when it poses a threat to himself or to others. Okay, so and under 18 victims of rape, incest, and abuse, when clients need hospitalization, if the clients request for report, especially when they are under 18, you know, this confidentiality can be broken. Dual relationship: do not have 2 or more clients simultaneously. Accepting gifts from a client. So when we give counseling to our students, we must remember here that we should not expect gifts from them. All the counselings that we do till today, like with our students, we don't take anything from them, nothing. It's all done voluntarily. We do counseling, online counseling, sometimes still late at night, till 12 o'clock at night, or sometimes in the evening. We have to sacrifice everything because, like I said, we have to listen to them. So, you know, we give them lots of time because these are people who come to us with problems. It's our duty to listen to them. But we don't take anything. We shouldn't take anything. You know, that desire to help should be there in all of us, unconditional desire to help them. Okay, so, and what is important is we should not counsel our friends or relatives, those who are close ones. We cannot be counselor for them because we tend to become biased. Okay, thank you. With that, I end the first you know, slide, the first presentation. I have another presentation, the next presentation, but this will not take long. I don't know how much time I have, how much time I've taken. Okay, I'll go immediately to the next.
You have another 20 minutes.
Okay.
May I ask?
Okay,
May
I'll go
I ask a
immediately.
question?
Can we do the question
Yeah, somebody
after
wants to ask a question.
Should I take it
Okay.
now or later?
Okay, we'll do it later after the.
Okay,
After
I'll
this.
just do the presentation. Okay. Where is my slide? Wait, okay, just a sec. Just give me a sec. Okay. Okay, this is my second slide. That is characters of efficient counselor. Okay, this is the characteristics that we should develop if we want to be a counselor. Empathy. Empathy is very important characteristic of a counselor. So empathy and sympathy, there's much confusion there, so I will just clarify. So sympathy is to feel with the person. Empathy, feel into. It is to get into another's frame of reference, into the shoes of the other, understand the person from his or her perspective, forget self to give ourselves to the other. With empathy, you understand that the person is really in distress and trouble. Empathy is an intellectual work. In sympathy, my heart works. Okay, so empathy is what you must develop. Understanding the emotions of the client, not feeling with him. So when he cries, when he comes to you crying with, all his emotional problems, you start crying with him. That is sympathy. That is not the characteristic that has to be developed. But empathy is when he comes to you with all his emotional problems, you listen to him with understanding. You don't cry with him, but you listen to him with understanding. That is empathy. Warmth. We convey our interest in the person. Warmth is very important. He has to feel warm, that somebody is there for him, feel good about your presence. But however, too much warmth can make the other dependent. Too much of warmth is not good because he will depend on you. Genuineness, to be authentic, no pretension, no artificiality, no phony. You intend to help and care genuinely. In the counseling process, when a person comes to you with all his problems, he will get the message that you are not genuine. You can't pretend to be, caring for him. You can't pretend to be understanding him. That person will definitely get the message that you are pretending. So genuineness in character is very important. Positive regard or attitude, accept the client unconditionally, whether he is beautiful or not very beautiful, or whether he is, of high social status, financially he is very high, or financially he or she is very poor, low in the financial status. You can't. You have to accept him as he is, not because he is rich, not because he is beautiful, not because she is rich, or not because she is poor, but accept the client as they are. Okay. Then concreteness, to take the person as he says. As he says, not what you feel. We cannot come to conclusions. We have to have that, that character in us, believing what he says, not what he implies, listening to what he says, not what he implies. Then sense of humor. An efficient counselor needs to have a sense of humor to set at ease, help to have better perspective, self-awareness. A counselor must be aware that he has his limitations and also he has his strength. And in that way, the counselor will know that, in this way, this is where I can help him. But the problem that he is facing, I cannot help him. So I will refer him to another person who has better knowledge or who has better experience. So that self-awareness has to be there in the counselor. Non-judgmental, very important. An efficient counselor cannot be judgmental. Like I said repeatedly, you cannot judge. If you want to be a good counselor, if you're used to judging people, you fail. So you have to stop judging people if you want to be counselor, an efficient counselor. Trustworthy, dependable, consistent, congruent. The counselor must be able to trust you. Like the 3 days back, I was requested to conduct counseling for students from another college. Then they asked me if I could be available for them. Then I said I can be available at 6 p.m. But at 6 p.m. I was very busy, but I had promised, so I had to keep my word. And however, she was a bit late, but that doesn't matter. But I was waiting. I made her know that I was waiting for her, and that made her feel good, and that made her, so she realized that she could trust me. And she texts me so many messages, voice recordings, and etc. Sensitive, accepting and expressing the emotion. We have to be sensitive to the emotions that they are experiencing, their emotions, not to feel with them, but to be able to understand their emotions. Psychologically mature, create counseling relationship, develop potentials in the direction of growth. For efficient counselor, we have to be psychologically mature, that is mentally mature. Self-responsible person, free from the threat of external evaluation. Sometimes our behaviors or our actions are determined by what others say. So that has to be, done away with in our characteristic, in our personality. We should be brave enough to do what we feel is right. We should be brave enough not to be, influenced by others. Okay, this is the end of my slide. Thank you. Okay. So I have come to the end of my presentation.
Okay. Now we can have the questions. If anybody wants to ask anything, discuss something. Yeah. I think it was thank you, Dr. Juliet, it was very informative, and I think it's helpful just in general relationship management also, not just for being a counselor.
Thank you. That is nice.
Yes. So we can take questions.
Yeah. I hope I'm able to answer.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Juliet. This is Rosangpui from Women's Polytechnic. So thank you for the information. We come from management background, so we are not, like, especially me, I'm not very familiar with counseling, but I have attended a 1-week training in Calcutta regarding counseling because it is what is needed for our institution. But anyway, I know that listening is very, very important. And this is maybe a personal question, but because you are a psychologist and you must be hearing so many problems of your clients. So do you also take counseling from others? Because if you hear all the negative, stories of your clients, you must be feeling down, like you have your own family life and whatnot. So because if we have to become mentor, we're going to hear many personal problems of our students. So how do we equip ourselves so that we are not influenced by their sad stories?
Okay, very true. So yeah, like professional counselors, actually we are not professional counselors, but we have the theoretical backings and everything, and we conduct counseling as far as we can do. But when we face our limitations, because of workload and, like you said, emotional problems also. And when we feel that this is too heavy for us, then we refer them to other people. Because it becomes too heavy for us. And I would like to say that, again, we are not professional counselors, but we do this voluntarily because we have the background. And in that case, when, like you said, yes, professional counselors, they go for counseling themselves. They definitely go for counseling, once in a while. when it's too heavy for them, they go for counseling, what we must do. And this, we are starting this process where everybody will be able to sort of help students. So in this, counseling, it is not not only the students who need the counseling. It is, like you said, it is the counselor who needs the counseling also. So very good question, very good points that you
If this goes well, we can arrange one for the teachers also.
brought to our limits. We have to know that I need regions. We call professionals also.
Okay, thank you. Your voice was cracking towards the end. Another question, if you don't mind. So
Okay.
we are not to judge the clients, but then when we listen to them, like, we should not agree to whatever they say, but we cannot like condemn them and say that you did wrong or you did right or whatever. So we cannot tell them what to do and what not to do, but then we lay down the options like that they can follow. If you follow this option A, you will end up doing getting this, right? But then so we cannot make a judgment regarding that. But then if the client asks, if it were you, what would you do? Like if the client asked me this question, then I can like freely say what I would do if I were her, right? Like that is not a how do I say, that is not a sensitive answer, right?
Sometimes you must tell the client, your students, that for this don't be afraid to say you don't have answer for the question. Don't be afraid to say that. Okay. And don't be afraid to admit that you don't know. And I can ask professionals for you, or I can give you their phone numbers. You can go, because this is beyond what I can do. I have limited knowledge. You can tell them that. So accepting our weakness is very important here, that I cannot do this. Let them know that even you are human. You have problem.
Dr. Juliet, in fact, I also have a follow-up question on this. When you say that we are not supposed to judge the student, or we are not supposed to advise, so for a common man, like I'm a common man, a teacher is a common man, she's not a professional, she's not really trained in this. So how does she get a sense of, that, okay, I helped this child, without, maybe to a psychologist, it will come naturally. So if you could just explain a little bit more, if I am not really telling the student or not really guiding him very in a very clear-cut, direct manner, then how am I really helping him or her?
Okay.
Little bit. Yeah.
Quite. That is why, like, sometimes it's quite difficult, that issue. That's why you need to be a skilled counselor to actually do the counseling. So what a common man like all of you, like with no psychological background, what you can do is the listening part is very important. The listening, because we have we are born with that desire to be heard. So even if you don't have answer to that, even if you feel that you're going to judge this person and you feel like giving advice, that urge might be there. But remember that just by listening to him, that person is relieved at certain extent. And remind yourself that I don't have the background, I don't have the knowledge. Like I said before, direct him, stop it. We have to learn to stop sometimes. Okay, because some of us, it's common with everybody. We love to give advice, especially when we feel that we know more than them. We love to give advice. Okay, but this person comes to me not for advice, but to pour out his emotions. That's, we have to remind ourselves very often, especially with us teachers, because we feel that we know more than the students. If my student comes to me, then that attitude is there. Like I said, the authoritarian attitude that is not healthy. Okay, the companion attitude is healthy.
I think we could also explore the different options, like what are the 3 things that a student can do,
we'll
and
give him.
You can discuss,
we'll give,
these are the pros, these are the cons, and then let him decide.
Yeah, that we can do. Yeah, let him decide on his own. Don't advise him, don't give him decision, don't make decisions for him, but give him the information. For this, you can do this. For this, you do this, etc., etc. So information giving, that we can do, not advising. Okay. So.
Thank you, Dr. Juliet.
Thank you.
Anybody else wants to say something? Okay, so we can get into the next session, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Juliet, so much for this informative session. And it really, I think it'll help all of us, not just for counseling, for our normal life also.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can the resource person share the slides with us later on?
Yes, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for giving
thank
me
you so much.
This opportunity. Thank you.
So now we'll get into the second session. This is just a moment. So I think we are running right on time as per our schedule. So now we'll get into the second session, which will be about mental health and mental illness and the maintaining of mental health. That how do you help yourself and how do you help people around you? And it will be, our resource person today is Dr. Zotan Zami. And I invite her. She's an associate professor with the psychology department in Changbana College. So I invite her to please tell us more about mental health.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me just go into my slide immediately. Okay, as ma'am has mentioned, today I'm going to talk about mental health of college students, as well as how to so mental health, we're going to talk about mental health and maintaining mental health among college students. And what I'd like to tell you today is that since the start of the pandemic, I have been very much associated with the COVID-19. So basically, all my presentations within this period of time has revolved around COVID-19 since it's during the pandemic. And I would really like to share that students have been greatly affected by this pandemic. So here in Changbana College, we started the online counseling cell, and we have given out the online counseling numbers. So we have been receiving a number of calls. Miss Dr. Juliet is the coordinator in this counseling unit. So that is something that I would like to share with you. So we have, Dr. Juliet has told us a lot about how counseling can be done, the counseling skills, and all the format. But what I would like to talk about today is about the mental health of these students. What exactly are if you can kindly mute. Okay, you can kindly mute. I cannot. Okay, please kindly mute. Okay, so before we start with counseling, we need to understand the nature of the mental health of our students. Usually, students come to us when they are in a state of what you call, when they're stressed. Something must be stressing them. So today, my presentation is not just going to dwell with COVID. My whole experience during this past 1.5 years is concentrated in counseling at quarantine centers, counseling COVID patients. I really haven't had time to really counsel students as per. But what I can give you today is a better understanding of what our students are going through at the moment, and also the overall perspective of the mental health of students. What are the things that influence mental health? So I will start immediately. Okay. So first of all, we need to know what mental health is. Before I go into that, let me talk about health first of all. When you say that, okay, you meet a person and we normally ask damem. But then when this person answers you, you would most probably say, oh, dame. And usually when we say dame, it's usually in the case of, when we do not have any physical. But then when the WHO defined health in 1948, it is not just about physical health that it talks about. So when the WHO brings out definitions about mental health, it tries to talk about health, that is, it tries to talk about the incorporation of these features like physical health, mental health, social health, as well as spiritual health. So when you talk about mental health, it is just a component, it is just one of the components of being healthy. But then without mental health, health can never be complete because it includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So the whole of our mentality, that is the mental health, affects the way that we think, it affects the way that we are acting out, our behavior, and it also affects the way that we are feeling inside. And also in times of stress, the way that, how depending on the level of our mental health, we're able to handle stress, and also how we relate to others, our relationship with other people, and at the same time, the choices that we make. If we are mentally healthy, that means we're able to make better choices. So if our mental health deteriorates, maybe we are not able to make proper choices. So it affects our everyday life, it affects our normal functioning. And when it gets too much, we may be, when it gets too much, we may be overwhelmed with feelings of anxiety and stress, or feelings of sadness, or that can further on lead to mental illnesses like mental disorders like depression and anxiety. So such is the importance of having good mental health. Okay, so what does it take to be mentally healthy? So if a person is saying, I'm mentally healthy, what does that mean? Okay, so first of all, the person who is mentally healthy would have developed psychologically, emotionally, intellectually, creatively, and spiritually. So if we want, okay, so in order, when a person is mentally healthy, will this person be able to develop, initiate, and sustain good relationships with other people, understand other people, empathize with other people, have better self-confidence, better self-esteem. And as I've said before, we need to adapt. If we are stressed, we need to adapt. So adaptability and flexibility comes easily with being mentally healthy. And of course, we are always faced with problems and setbacks. And if we are mentally healthy, we are able to resolve these problems and setbacks and learn from the mistakes that we have made and from the problems and the setbacks that we have encountered in our lives. And also, we are able to develop a sense of what is wrong and what is right. Okay, so I've explained about the nature of mental health. So if you are mentally healthy, so you're able to grow better, you're able to learn from experiences better, you might be more free from psychological problems, emotional problems. You're able to have better relationships with other people. You're able to make more choices, and whatever stress and hardships that comes your life, you're able to deal with them properly. But then there are lots of other things that can affect your mental health. So today we are going to go through these one by one. There are quite a lot, but I'll make them brief and short so that these are the things that things that we need and things that we need to avoid in order to have a better mental health. We're talking about in terms of college students, but I myself, can have, I think, will have a lot of things to incorporate these in my life. And I'm sure some of you may also have things like these that you can incorporate. And of course, many of us will have children. So these children need to develop healthy mental health, or let's say positive mental health. So let's go into these factors that promote mental health, because we all need to be mentally healthy first so that we can promote good mental health, positive mental health with others. Okay, the first is resilience, then comes the academic, then our lifestyle, sexuality, the relationships that we have with other people, then substance abuse, then of course the goals and career plans and life skills. Okay, I'll go through them one by one shortly. Okay, so what is resilience? Okay, we have talked about adversities in our lives. We are in whatever life circumstances that we face, there's going to be setbacks. And what we need to do as adults and inculcate in our students as well as in our children is that we need to bounce back. We need to rise above these challenges that we face in our life, and that capacity that we have to rise above from these challenges, failures, that we meet in our life, the stresses, the difficulties that we meet in our life, is known as resilience. And this is the first and foremost thing, because life is not going to be what you call a bed of roses. You're going to meet with adversities in your life. We're going to meet with stresses in our lives. We're going to meet with problems in our lives. But then these problems should not pull us down. You need to rise above that. This needing to rise above a situation that may not be positive is called resilience. And whatever mindset that you have that you can't do it, you have to change it into you can do it. Because if you don't rise above these, these challenges and adversities that you meet in your life, we would not be able to grow. We would not be able to we would not be able to be mentally healthy. And this is something that college students lack. I don't know how maybe it is due to their upbringing. It may be due to the schools that they have gone so far. I don't know, but this is quite low among college students. So this is something that we need to understand, that failures do not define the person. It is rising above these failures that define that person. So you have psychological, social, and physical resilience. Okay, so academic success. This is what they come for in college. The main purpose, the main reason why they are in college, and that is academic success. When they first come to first semester, we always ask them, I'm sure, why they're taking this particular subject, and their hopes about their future. I think that is basically what every teacher asks their students. Some may be clear-cut about what the things that they want, some may not be. But the main idea behind college is for academic success, so that they will do better in life. But academic success, with academic success comes so many different other things, like respectability, like when they study, it is about gaining knowledge. But at the same time, they get a better understanding of college life. I always tell my students, when you come to college, you've already been better than those who do not go to college, because you have got the college life experience. And of course, they're respected. Oh, they're college students. That criteria. Being a college student is better than being, a high school student, like that. And of course, when they are students, they have the exposure. So they have to, and if they are motivated, they want to succeed in life, they have the better skills of handling stressors. And college life itself gives them the confidence. Of course, they need to, for all of this, they have to study, because that is the most important reason why they are in college, and they have to understand the reason why they are in college. And it is not just about fun and laughter. And
please mute
yeah, please mute. Okay, the next one is about lifestyle. Okay, our lifestyle influences our mental health. This is something that we always talk about during times of the pandemic, since we are during the pandemic, and of course, not just during the pandemic. Most students do not, many students, let's say, do not have a healthy lifestyle. They'll stay up late in the night, get up late during the day, do not eat properly, do not drink enough water. In Shambana College, we always have this exercise when they come in the first semester to drink water in the morning. So I make sure that they drink in the WhatsApp group. I make sure that they have this big mug of water, and that they drink it and they take a selfie. And they post the selfie in the WhatsApp group, and we make a collage out of that, so that we make sure the importance of drinking water, and and the way that they eat is also not healthy. They have a lot of junk food. They do not eat proper meals. So in order for them to have a healthy lifestyle, we have to control their sleep-wake cycle, number one. We have to control their social media. Then, of course, we have to make sure that they get exercise, because they don't want to walk. Either they come in their scooty or in the bus. And I always ask them, how many of you walk during the day when you're coming to college? And not even half of them walk. And I said, what kind of exercise do you take? And mostly, and many of them don't even take their exercise. So they need to have a regular exercise, eat well, like less junk food. What I've noticed in college is that they eat a lot of these packets, and you will see a lot of waste. And they eat, when they have lunch, they will have this YY or other things raw. I mean, like, these are all not good for their health. So we always need to encourage them to have a square meal, like, eat proper food in the morning, eat proper food in the night, and have something during the day. And of course, they need to drink plenty of water. These are the things that, we have to teach them, again, the healthy lifestyle. So what because good health, in order for them to have a good productive life, they need to have good health. Eating well increases their immunity, eating healthy, drinking water, exercising. They reduce their body weight. Also, they have a good body weight. They lower the risk of disease. And at the same time, exercise improves concentration and, of course, have a healthy, positive mental health. Okay, then let's go into the sexuality. Sexuality, I find it very important these days because there are lots of issues, there have a lot of issues regarding sexuality, especially this is the time when they start dating, whether it is the opposite sex or the same sex. I'm a psychologist, so I'm not going to talk about heterosexual relationships. I'm always going to talk about relationships. I'm not going to mention whether their relationship is heterosexual or homosexual, because after 1994, homosexuality is no longer a disorder. It is merely a sexual preference. So in psychology, this is not personal. This is about my personal views do not count here. But let us just know that the term LGBT, lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transgenders, they are a part of our community, whether we like it or not. It is going to be here. So might as well incorporate that, because it has also become very rampant in our state, in our society. So it is not something that we can just condone. And as a psychologist, it is my duty to have what Ms. Juliet just mentioned, an unconditional positive regard on this situation. So this is the time when they start really dating, have attractions and relationships with prospective boyfriends or girlfriends. And this is the time also that they need education. Sex education is important. Of course, they might have had in the higher secondary or high school, but as teachers, we have to, even if we are not feeling comfortable about it, this is a very, very big issue within the college or community. So they need to know, especially about, about sexual intercourse. We can find measures in delaying their sexual intercourse, but we cannot stop them. So they need to know about it. And they need to know about healthy sex. What is healthy, what is right, what is wrong. That is health-wise. They need to know about preventive, that is the contraceptive. Especially girls, they need to know about contraceptives so that they don't get pregnant. This is the time when they are most fertile, actually. And of course, they need to know about if they're pregnant. Some don't even realize that they can get pregnant with unprotected sex. So they need to understand about contraceptives and the resultant pregnancy. They need to know about the possibility of sexually transmitted disease and HIV/AIDS. And how unprotected sex and unhealthy sex can lead to
Ms. Mazam, please unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. So this is the scenario, okay? And of course, here they may be, witness to sex abuse and bullying and even rape. Okay, so let's talk about relationships. Relationships are important. Healthy relationships are important. A number of students who come to me have come to me with different kinds of relationship problems, whether it is an LGBT issue, just coming out, realizing that, they're either gays or lesbians, or they are having home problems, family problems, so on and so forth. So they need good relationship, parental relationships, peer relationships, classroom relationships, dating, and of course, they need to be assertive. When you talk about assertiveness, it is about maintaining a stance in that relationship and being able to, express it to the other person, whether they find this relationship or as being satisfactory, unsatisfactory, so on and so forth. Okay, let's go into the problems of substance abuse. Okay, this is rampant in our society, and I'm sure many of you have your students with this same problem. Okay, so psychoactive substances that are popular, maybe heroin, ganja, LSD, now methamphetamine. Smoking is not considered, but then alcohol is very rampant. And this is the right time for students to be thoroughly, navigating the psychoactive substance culture. So we need to, this is a very risk-taking behavior. So we need to be vigilant in these spectrum. And this may also lead to promiscuous sexual activity or even fighting, gang behavior. And we have to understand that this early adulthood is a time for exploration. They need to see what are the avenues that they can encounter. They're curious, they want to experiment, and they also they're also rebelling for the family. They want to be more independent to make their own choices. And so if they get into substance abuse, what happens is that their grades will decline, their performance will go down, they'll be absent from college, and that leads to dropping out. And once they drop out, it leads to isolation from their friends. And automatically, all these circumstances will lead to mental and physical health problems. And of course, they can involve themselves in antisocial crime behavior like drugs, use of drugs, selling of drugs, then of course, stealing and fighting. Okay. Two more points. I'm nearly done. Okay, in this goal setting, they need to set their goals. Goal setting and work for it. If they set their goals properly, short-term goals or long-term goals, if they set it properly, then they can progress further. So right from the beginning of their, college years, we need to encourage them to set a goal. It might be simple goal setting, like, to graduate, to do well in the first semester, to get a 60% marks in their first semester. Then we can, keep on increasing. Okay, life skills. They need to know the navigation of life. So the World Health Organization terms life skills as the ability for adaptive and positive behavior, so that a person will deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. Okay, so there are lots of skills that are involved. I will not go into further here, since I'll be sharing my slide. We can you can go through them later on. Okay, so this is something that we need to know. What is the impact of the COVID-19 on the mental health of students? Because right now we are living during a pandemic, and the effects of the pandemic, they're going to prolong. Maybe the pandemic will end this year, we don't know. It might, if the third wave comes, then we might be in another, worse off situation. We are not sure. But then the effects are going to prolong. Even the WHO has hypothesized that, the effects of the pandemic, it's going to have a ripple effect on the mental health of people across the globe. So let us be prepared and understand how much the pandemic has affected our students, so that, when they come back, once we start our class, that is just a few weeks away. When we start our class, we would be able to understand better what is the nature of our students' mental health. And we know that it has been a long time, 2020, 17 March, everything shut down. We opened briefly, but it could not be the way that we wanted it to be. So we had to shut down again. So it's always been we have been up and down, up and down. So right now, we are in the middle of a lockdown, exams over, but then what can we do? Nothing much. Okay, and we went into lockdown on the 25th of March 2020, over a year, and it has been long. And if you remember, it was at that time, just before exams, students have been, always kept in a awkward position where they are not sure what is going to happen. And at that beginning, they didn't even know how they're going to have an exam, when their classes are going to resume, how admission procedure is going to be done, all that. It's a worry. And if they pass out, what can they do? If they want to go out of state, what can they do? Everything is in, partially shut down. So it is a very worrisome time for students in this pandemic. At the same time, we are scared, we are afraid of contracting the disease. There is a lot of uncertainty regarding the whole scenario, and we are undergoing stress. And at the same time, we are afraid of the stigma that is the what you call in Mizo, Shikna, that happens, that is attached to the disease as well as to the patient, the negative perspective that we have about the disease. And of course, social distancing or social isolation, quarantine, this has created so much of psychological distress. It has created frustration. We are frustrated. We want to go out, but we can't go out. And it's even worse for students because they are the ones who are always on the move. They're the ones with the more energy. They're the ones who like to be with friends more. And they're lonely. And some may even face abuse at home. This is very alarming, especially in the Indian Bulletin. The Women's Research Cell has highlighted a major increase in domestic violence and abuse against children within the pandemic. And of course, we have financial worries. That is why the fees of this semester's admission has also been slashed down. So financial worries that can even lead to suicidal thoughts and suicide, which has already been happening among students. And of course, let us always remember that the pandemic has affected the motivation of students. It has decreased their attention span as well as their resilience. And this online class, even though it may be easy, it is not, it has created problems with phones and computer connections and money for network issues. All these, you must have all remember the problems that we faced during exams and the process of exams, how network problems created such a big hassle. And also, we did a small survey, the COVID committee, as well as the Department of Psychology, Shambana College. We have on the mental health of quarantines as well as normal people, where we find that students have the highest level of stress, anxiety, and depressive symptoms. This level of high stress, anxiety, and depressive symptoms is even is more among girls than in boys, but highest among students. And we haven't yet recovered from the first lockdown. Now we are in the second wave, which has again risen the levels of frustration, anxiety, fear, panic, depression, insomnia. Insomnia is when you cannot sleep properly. You have trouble in sleeping, uncertainty, and then we blame ourselves. If somebody or if I am COVID positive, then I blame myself, but okay. Okay, so we were supposed to talk about psychological illnesses or mental health problems. I've listed a few, not that are most prominent within the college scenario, the student scenario that all of us need to understand. Okay, let's so stress. Okay, when we face a situation and we feel that we are overwhelmed and we are not able to cope with this pressure, whether it is a mental pressure or an emotional pressure, then the term stress comes. So stress is about feelings of being not able to cope with a particular situation. And many students face what is known as academic stress. They may feel stress outside also, but within the academic institute, what they face is also known as academic stress. And this academic stress will be any kind of stress that is prevalent within the college campus. And anxiety is the body's reaction to these stresses. But anxiety itself is not a disorder. All of us do face anxiety at one point in our lives when we are going to sing on the stage, or you're going to perform, or you're going to give an exam. These are normal anxiety. But if this anxiety is so overwhelming, then lasts for a long period of time, then it becomes a disorder. And of course, like I've mentioned in the previous slide about the research, anxiety is abnormally high within this period of time. It is high among the Mizo population as a whole, but it is higher with the start of this pandemic. Okay, and very high among college students. Okay, so these are the common anxiety disorders that I have mentioned, that I have listed out. One is called generalized anxiety disorder. We call it the GAD, which I had just mentioned. Then a phobia. Phobia is the fear. In the newest research that I have read, there's a new term called coronavirus phobia. That is the fear of the coronavirus. The coronavirus. So we are overwhelmed with so many different kinds of fears. Okay, and OCD, that is obsessive compulsive disorder. And then obsessive, this is a repetitive obsession about something. And then we have PTSD, known as the post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD is what is the result of extreme stress, prolonged stress, and trauma. This is also usually experienced by students, like the students I have counseled when they had undergone abuse from childhood, or even sexual abuse, even rape and physical violence in the house. So they go through what is known as post-traumatic stress disorder, very prevalent as well among students who have undergone trauma and abuse. Okay, depression, the most common term that is used in the Mizo vocabulary of feeling not good. But we should understand that what we need to understand is not every sad feeling is depression. Depression is a mood disorder. But we can feel depressed. We can have depressive symptoms, but that doesn't make it a disorder. So depression is a feeling of sadness, loss, anger. But what I would like to emphasize here is that not everybody goes through depression. They may be in a depressive mood, they may be feeling sad, but that does not guarantee that this person is having depression. Okay, but if they do have this, it is given a time period. Depression is given a time period, that is like in psychology, we call it a 2-week period. So, but if they do have depression, it can be associated with, what we have to watch out for is, it can be associated with suicidal ideation, suicidal attempts, and even suicide. Okay, and the very prominent one is eating disorder. We have to know that many students from this social media, another big encounter is that they undergo eating disorder. It might have started from not having a regular meal, or this is the time when they are very conscious about body image. We have this picture in our mind that the thin body is good, things like that. So here, students around the world, they are faced with eating disorder. Anorexia is when they stop eating, they eat very less, and their body weight starts reducing, which they feel is the ideal, but which is not. They just stop, they eat very little. And then there is bulimia nervosa, where a student, somewhat like anorexia, they will eat, but then they'll feel guilty, and they will, they will try to purge it out in the form of vomit, or they will eat laxative because they're feeling guilty that they have eaten. And also obesity. This is when your body weight becomes so high. Your body weight becomes so high that it exceeds the normal. That is when you are very, very overweight. So 3 main eating disorders that are very prevalent right now within our society as well. Then comes the gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is, when we are born either biologically, we are born as either males or females, depending on our primary, or let's say our physical characteristics, sexual characteristics. And when a boy or a girl is born, they're immediately given a gender as being feminine or masculine. Basically, boys, masculine, girls, feminine. That is the usual scenario. But there are so many now who are having dissatisfaction with the kind of gender identity that they are assigned to. So now we have these gender neutral people who are called gender neutral, or people who are transsexual or transgender, where a boy wants to be a girl instead, or a girl wants to be a boy instead, or doesn't want to be either a boy or a girl. These scenarios have started, and cisgender, gender neutral, transgender, these are the terms that keeps emerging now. And this is the time which is very prevalent in college. I've had a number of students who come to me in this scenario as well, where it leads to a lot of anxiety and depression because it is not acceptable for the society, not acceptable by their family. So it creates a lot of anxiety and depression, and also conduct disorders and drug abuse. Conduct disorder starts early, actually. It starts maybe in the time of high school, when they start where they run away from school. They will go in the corners, smoke, and then it progresses. If this has not been contained, it progresses. And by the time they're in college, just normal smoking is not enough. By high school and higher secondary, they're already smoking hash or ganja, and they're already popping pills. And by the time they are a bit older, they are already addicted to the substance. So even though I have mentioned it here, but usually it starts quite early, this particular disorder. So there are many kinds of disorders, but then these are, I feel, are the most prevalent in this scenario that we are talking about today. Okay, so what would we tell our students? We are, right, as I've said before, we are during a pandemic. So your most important work right now would be, dealing with students on how, they could cope with the pandemic. It's not just going to end immediately. We are not able to overcome it now, but then we can, in a way, try to relieve some of the uncertainty and the anxiety that students are facing during this pandemic. Once we start college, as I've mentioned before, this is again going to be important. So this is what we tell our students during this pandemic. Later on, after the pandemic, if we still go on, we can, talk more about the mental health scenario. But right now, the the focus at hand needs to be what we are going to tell our students, when we are dealing with them in this pandemic. Okay, so the first thing that we need to tell them is about the precautions, which we already know, how vulnerable we are, so on and so forth. That it is like, we always have to be careful and take protection. But all of us are so overwhelmed with statistics. We talk about this many people are positive today, this many people are positive, have come out of the quarantine center or the CCC. This many people are there in ZMC. What use is that for us? Just think about it. What do we need that information for? Like, if I get the information that 390 people were positive today, it affects me. And I'm going to say, oh my God, it's so scary. But what use is it for me? Nothing. It's just statistics. So we need to avoid, we ourselves need to avoid. We are upset. It's okay to be upset. But what is the big use of us knowing all the statistics of what is happening in the COVID scenario? It is best that we try to protect ourselves as much as possible. But we need to teach our students the rules that are now in the new normal, like masks, social distancing, washing our hands, using online modes of communication as much as possible, avoiding crowds, not to shake hands, not to spit around, things like this. These are the norms that have come out in the new normal. And of course, they need to be vaccinated. They need to be vaccinated and to boost their immunity. And in order to boost their immunity, this is the thing that we have spoken about, how to have a healthy lifestyle. And of course, they have to be patient. This is something that we always talk about in the COVID-19 committee, that we need to be patient. Things will get better. If it is not as good now, it is going to get better. Let's just be patient and wait for the time that it will be better. And in that, what they need, like Ms. Juliet has said before, they need to speak out their problems. They have got so many problems, which may be very trivial to us, but for them, it can be very overwhelming. The problems and their concerns may be very overwhelming. So the least that we can do right now, since we are not being able to have an offline mode of counseling, what we can do is, we can just be good listeners. Stay connected with them. We can just use the WhatsApp also, or we can listen to their problems. This is the least that we can do. And we have to ask them to take good care of themselves, have good personal hygiene, to eat well. These are all the things that I have mentioned before. We need to think positive and limit our social media. This we have, and of course, we have the time. I don't think we have enough time, but then let's try. And we need to focus on practicing. In Mizo, we call it talk, laugh, chikanpia. And we know that we all breathe. But if we are very mindful of the way that we are breathing also, it gives us a lot of instances where we can de-stress. And this is something that we can teach our students and practice ourselves. And like Ms. Juliet has said before, if anything is beyond the limitations of you and I, we all have a counseling. I'm sure all of us have a college counseling cell. They can approach the college counseling cell, and we can, if the teacher feels that he's not adequate, can refer it to a psychologist perhaps, or to a clinical psychologist perhaps, or even to a psychiatrist. The hierarchy goes up. So, but what you and me, we can do is that we can be active listeners, listen to them, listen to their problems. And when we listen and they, when they bring out their problems, a lot of weight has been relieved from them. Okay. So at the end of the day, what matters is your mental health. We've talked about the mental health of so many. We've talked about the mental health of our students. But what matters more is your mental health. You know, we always need to focus on ourselves first before we can focus on others. You know, to be effective, uh, we have to be mentally healthy first. If we are to propagate about the mental health, if we are not mentally healthy ourselves, like I've said before, we cannot make other people mentally healthy. So we need to be mentally healthy first ourselves, then we can concentrate on other people. Okay. So your mental health, it affects you, it affects your family. Okay, it affects your family. Since most of us have a family, it affects your family and it affects your students. So the nature of our mental health affects all those who are around us. And only after we have a good mental health can we turn the, we can have a good output as a teacher. We have come a long way. I think when we started online mode in 2020, many of us didn't even know how to use the Zoom, the Google Meet, or even know how to make the PowerPoint presentation. Look at yourself then, 2020. Look at yourself now. How much you have changed. How much you have proved. How tech savvy you have become. We have really done good, don't you think so? I think we have done good. I myself feel that I have really done good because I'm not a person like, here in Shambana College, we are always with our Moodle, talking about Moodle, uploading materials in Moodle, then online classes, then about YouTube live and things like that. I have never encountered these before 2020, but now here we are, like right now, we're talking, we are having a meeting on Zoom, we're expressing. I mean, like, we have come a long way, and I think each one of us need to congratulate ourselves. We didn't have prior knowledge of all these when we were younger, but then we didn't have formal training also, like most people do. But then here we are, doing it ourselves. And we have to understand that just as we are having problems online, our students are having problems online. We can't see them. They're distracted. Their attention span has reduced a lot during the pandemic. They have become demotivated, not as good as they were. They have mastered in the skills of cheating. How are we going to deal with that once they come back offline? This current, we must have all seen the papers of our current exams. And most of us may be dejected, but this is the scenario that we are living in right now. So there's so many things we would have to correct once offline classes start again. So I think mentally we need to be prepared to face all of these challenges. I think I have come to the end of my presentation. Thank you. Here's a message from the COVID Committee on Psychological and Social Guidance that we would persevere. We would indeed go through these life circumstances. Ma'am, do we have the time for a short breathing exercise?
Yes, we can do that, I think. We have time.
Okay, we have time. Okay, let me just say this in Mizo. Talk luck kan saya kan. So since we have, it'll just take 3 minutes. Just take 3 minutes, and let's take a short break, and learn a nice breathing exercise that we can do. Talk luck, simple breathing exercise that we can do so that a little bit of the anxiety and the stress is dissipated from our mind during this and you can use this just before, like, when you're feeling panicky or you're feeling nervous or anxious or frustrated. Just take a short breath. Okay, let's do one thing. Wherever we're sitting, let's be comfortable. Let's just sit comfortably. If you have a bag or anything that is bothering you, just stretch out. If you want to lie down, just lie down. Just feel comfortable. Put everything away. Just if you're sitting, just put your hands comfortably on your lap or, okay. So I want to, okay. I hope everybody is comfortable. Let's take a short break. This is a very simple breathing technique just to, relax, help you relax. You can practice it daily. It wouldn't take you more than 5 minutes or even 3 minutes. We're not going to. So one hand, whatever hand is on your lap, bring it out. One hand will be on your chest. The other hand will be on your tummy. Put one hand on your chest, one hand on your stomach. I will be instructing, so just close your eyes. So whatever posture you take, let it be comfortable. Just be comfortable. It doesn't matter, whichever position that you're taking. Just put one hand on your chest, just above your heart, and just put one hand on your tummy, on your stomach. Just relax. Just close your eyes. Just relax with one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. Close your eyes. You will breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Okay, so shall we start? Okay, so what we're going to do is, okay, you're going to take a deep breath through your nose. Let it fill in your stomach. Okay, let it fill in your stomach, not your chest. Just fill in your stomach, not your chest. Take a deep breath. Then breathe out harshly. Breathe it out through your mouth. Okay, breathe it out through your mouth. You can whistle also if you want, like that. Okay, shall we start? Okay, so take a deep breath, hand on your chest, on your tummy. Take a deep breath and breathe out through your mouth. Okay, so you repeat this. Take a deep breath through your nose. Fill out your tummy, fill out your belly with that air, and then you breathe out again through your mouth. Do this at least 6 to 10 times per minute. You do not need to take long. 2 minutes is quite sufficient. If you can exceed it, well and good. But if not, okay, with that,
Thank you, Dr. Zameen.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were saying, you can complete.
Okay, I was just saying thank you for being patient. Somebody said it was quite boring, so this I can do. But thank you so much for giving me the chance to interact with all of you. And we will be, all the psychologists will be coming to your colleges to meet you in the near future. And we will arrange with your authorities how this whole setup will proceed, maybe before classes resume, And we look forward to coming and meeting all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zami. And it was a very informative session, and you covered almost all the hot topics of young adults in a very concise manner, I must say. I'd like to thank Shangbana College for making this happen, and they were very, very proactive about it. I think I just have a little conclusion to this whole thing. So it was a very informative and a very crisp session, and I also learned a lot of things. I'll just repeat a couple of the main highlights. First was that it is important to listen. You may feel that something is very trivial because once you are in a elder age group, you have seen so much more of the world that you get a perspective on things. Whereas for the student, his life is very different, and it's very those things might matter much more than how you perceive it. So listening without judging. I request you all to please not judge, because if that happens, then students will not come up. And especially in the sense that there might be certain things which you may feel is wrong, which the student might feel is right. For example, having a boyfriend or a girlfriend might be wrong for somebody, might be right for somebody. So let us keep those judgments aside. I'm not saying anybody is right or wrong. It's, I think, a personal choice. And there are a lot of such issues, social and political issues, on which we may have different opinions, but we have to work together and come up with the best solution possible. So I'll request you all to please, I know it's very difficult to keep your own biases away, but I'm sure once we start this, it will also be a very good development journey for yourself. You will be able to connect better with the people around you. You'll be able to understand how human psychology works, how people think, and how their thinking evolves. And especially because I think students of this age group are the most moldable. If they're guided in the right way, they can really do well. Or if they don't get the guidance, they can really it can really impact their entire life. So it's what you do in college actually determines what you will do for the rest of your life. So it's a very important role that you can play in a student's life. It'll also be a very good journey for yourself. It'll bridge the gap between I think the generation gap now has increased because of a lot of technology, a lot of new concepts coming in. So it'll give you also a better connection with the younger generation. I'll really request you to maintain confidentiality, because I understand that we are a very connected society, and it is a very good likelihood that the student's father is your friend, or you're related in some way, or friend of friend, sister's friend, something like that. So let's keep those relationships away from a counseling relationship, because it can if somebody shares something and he gets to know that it has been told to somebody that he does not trust, it can actually do more damage than good. So I think it would rather be better that we don't touch rather than we do more damage. So I think judgment and confidentiality, these are the two things we should really keep in mind. Because like when I was in school, this used to happen. If the teacher got to know about certain things, first thing will be call up the parents and get a good scolding. So let's not try to do that. These are adults. They're above 18. They can make their own choices, and our point is to help them with those choices rather than to create more problems in their life. So another thing I was wondering was that maybe we can circulate a template in which you can take notes. Like we can have a sheet for any student that approaches you. You can take notes on that, so that can help you out to kind of assimilate thoughts, to understand the entire thing. Dr. Zami, I think we can make something like that, a format where
do that.
different aspects can be covered. guiding template.
We can do that.
Yeah, we can do
we
that.
Can make a guideline. Yeah, we can make a guideline.
And we can circulate that. Basically, it's a conversation that we are trying to have here. We are not trying to sermonize or do a moral lecture. We are just trying to have a conversation and to understand and to help out, to empower our students. Teachers have a lot of influence. I have been a student very recently, and that's why I'm telling you this. Teachers have a lot of influence on students, more than the parents, more than the friends, more than, because you may not agree to it publicly, but somewhere if the teacher says something, you feel that, okay, I need to think about this. Your mother will say something, you will say she's always saying the same thing. So I think we should use that leverage and help our students. Then finally, I think we can also use our community in a very effective manner here. I have very pleasantly discovered that community is a very big stress buster here. That you go to your neighbor's house, you're so connected with everybody else, that itself becomes a stress buster. So you can, especially at this time when students cannot move around too much, you can guide them towards their local community. They can interact there, go to a neighbor's house, things like that. So and it's this age group is when they are discovering themselves. So that's why there's a lot of confusion, a lot of anxiety, a lot of questions. So a teacher can really be the most important crucial factor that can really change somebody's life. Then a very good question had come up regarding your own stress. I think, largely 99% of the student problems that you will see will not be something very, 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 very grave, or something that will really have a huge mental impact on you. Because you have the advantage of wisdom of so many years. You know what the bigger picture is. You know how life works and how things actually end up. So I'm sure because of that extra knowledge, you'll be able to understand that a lot of issues of students are actually, they can be handled in a very simple manner. They don't need they're not very complex. Of course, there will be certain cases, of course, that for that we will have our resource people. But I'm sure that given your maturity, you'll be able to handle it very well. So finally, I'll just come to the last topic that I want to touch, that is about COVID. Some things that you can talk to the students about is, as Dr. Zami had said, physical exercise. That's one thing that they can really do, and it's very simple to do. I watch YouTube and do exercise. It doesn't matter whether it's raining or it's shining, or it's today something is happening, today there's a lockdown. It doesn't matter, and it's very, very easy to do. You just need a small little space. You don't need any equipment, nothing. And there are very different types of variations also in that. On YouTube you can find all kinds of variations. So physical exercise, emphasize on that. Then they can develop a hobby. Like today, there is this, all of us are feeling this, there is this a sense of that time has stopped. You don't really have a very distinct sense of routine, sense of timing, which was there earlier in life, that you used to go to an office, you had to do these things, these meetings used to happen, some things like that. So you can ask them to develop a hobby. It could be painting, it could be baking, it could be cooking, anything that is possible. It could be reading, whatever the student likes to do. So we have to focus on the positive stuff. As Dr. Zami had said, that remind them of all the positive things happening around you. Like technologically savvy. I was surprised today that the YouTube live link was shared. That I was really pleasantly surprised to know that we've learned so many new things in the last 1 year, and we have gained so much time, I must say. We don't no longer spend so much time just traveling around, running here and there, taking flights, taking trains. All that there's so much of time saving. So explain to them all this, that it's positive also, it's not all negative. And they should they should live in the present. Like we all should live in the present, and especially during COVID time, we don't know what the future will be. So we should just live in the present, enjoy the present without having that anxiety that, okay, what will happen next month? Let's just focus on what is right now. And as our resource person had said, that ask them not to look at statistics. Every day when I wake up, the first thing that invariably when I open my phone comes up is that DIPR report on the number of cases that have come today. So, and it's the very first thing that you see in the morning. Like I think even I will block them. I'll only see them when I need to see them. So that said, also encourage the students to stick to the facts. A lot of things in life are in our head. Like, for example, when I was writing the IAS exam, there used to be a lot of anxiety, but we realized that most of it was imaginary. You have no control over it. You cannot do anything about it. It does not affect your studying, but just the fact that, oh, so many people write the exam. Now, this is a fact. It gives you anxiety, but it doesn't do any good to you. You cannot change it. Nothing comes out of it. So similarly for COVID also, there is a lot of rumors going around. There's a lot of things which are not really proven, but we fear. So encourage your students to just stick to the facts, that what is proven, what we know, let us just stick to that. Let us not look at what people are saying, what so-and-so is saying, because WHO had also at one point of time said no masks are needed. So we don't know who is right, who is wrong. Let's just stick to what we know and our own present situation. You can encourage them to have short-term goals. You can tell them that, okay, for the next 3 days, you decide that I will accomplish this. I will make a new friend. I will call up my relative. I'll call up my grandmother. It could be any small, simple thing. Those small milestones give you a sense of achievement. They give you a sense of doing something in life, which I think our students are kind of missing somewhere because of the whole online system. Encourage them to talk about their worries, call up a friend, call up a relative. And like ma'am said, that meditation and breathing exercise is very important. And I felt the difference right now also. I don't know how many of you did, but it does clear up your mind, because ultimately anxiety leads to a lot more of carbon dioxide in your blood. Breathing reduces that. So it's just simple chemistry. It's nothing, it's very well proven. And finally, another point is on sleep management. A lot of times when we don't have really a routine, so we are just sleeping at any time, we are waking up at any time, and then that entire cycle goes out. And especially with adolescents and young adults, this is a thing, because we like to chat in the night and we want to watch a movie, or once Netflix starts, then you have to get up only when you finish the 10 episodes. So all these things, if you're just sleeping at the right time and getting up at the right time, also really helps you keep your mental balance. Otherwise, you can become a zombie at night and just be totally zoned out in the morning. So these are some few things that I think you can share with your students. It's a tough time, but I think it's a good learning for the students also, because life is going to be tough only. Life is not easy. You just have to deal with it. You can't really get away from that. So I want to thank all of you for joining. It was a good attendance, and I hope you were listening and not just shut it down and it is lying in some corner. I saw one of you has traveled from office to home, and she has reached home now. I don't think she is listening, definitely. And I want to thank all our principals, because I was very happy to see the kind of response that they gave, and they were very forthcoming and very, very prompt in taking action on this. So thanks to all the principals. And we are planning to launch this in the next session. We'll give you a few weeks to just settle down with the students, with your coursework and all, and then perhaps we can launch it. Once the classes start, once we have offline things happening, then we can have a face-to-face interaction also, maybe in your college or at a central point. So we can figure out that also. I think, so I'll share my email ID with you all. If you have any kind of feedback, or if you need any kind of help, any kind of, things that we can change, things we can do better, please drop me an email. I'll be happy to understand better, because things are different here. Things are not, maybe there's something that I may not be seeing. So I'll be happy to get feedback from you. And special thanks to Shangmana College and our 2 resource persons who have been very proactive. And I am truly grateful to both of you. And we'll plan the rest of the scheme also. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dr. Juliet, I think you wanted to respond to a question.
Yeah, I had responded in the
on the chat box.
Chat box, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
May I say something, ma'am?
Yes, of course.
This
RSP, your video. I want to see your face.
I have oiled my
Yes,
I have
want to
oiled
see your
my
face.
hair.
It's okay.
It's oily. I don't want to show my.
We won't answer.
You don't judge.
Okay, ma'am.
We are not judging.
Yeah. First of all, ma'am, how do you like Mizoram? I'm like very curious to know how you find Mizoram. Okay, then
I am quite liking it, because the weather is very good. It is not like, it's not burning hot. It's always such good weather. Not
you
very
say
cold,
quite.
not very hot. And,
You say quite, so that means not very, no? You say quite
no,
like.
No, I am liking it. Initially, of course, it was a big change for me.
Okay.
I cannot deny that. Initially, it's very far away from where I come from and all. But now I'm all well settled.
That is nice to hear.
Domestically, things are fine now, settled down and all. So it's a good place, and the people are very very good. Compared to compared to Delhi, where everybody is so aggressive, it's much better here.
So, ma'am, I was not there during your introductionary speech because the link given to us was.
I know.
Yeah. So,
I know, yes.
Anyway, my question is like this: we have been appointed to be mentors. So, like, this question may be answered by Dr. Zami or Juliet. Like, what's the difference between mentor and counselor? Because I believe mentor is a bigger word. And then, is this are we being appointed for this pandemic period?
So actually, actually the word, I still have to finalize the word, whether we should call it mentor or counselor. I'll come up with a very nice word. But because we had to get this training done, that's why I'm just using the word mentor. Don't read too much into it, that what does it mean. And it's basically a platform where students can come and talk. That's all. It's not something very technical.
Okay, it can be a coach also, not the synonym.
Yes, yeah, that's a good word. Yes, I think we can we can use that.
And then, ma'am, like, is this to be for during this pandemic only, or it's going to continue?
I think let us start for the pandemic, and let's see how it goes. If we feel that in offline mode it is not really needed, we can discontinue it. But I think the pandemic is here to stay for at least another year. So for that period, let's start.
So those who have been appointed as mentors can get further training to become career counselors.
Yes, of course.
And all those like. And in my college, in Women's Polytechnic, we have a lot of life skills sub curriculum.
Yes.
The general stream like Shramana College and other institutions where they have all those life skills program, like where they get to develop their personality and all that.
We can do that.
Yeah, but I feel that this is a must paper that every student in any subject should study. So I would like to suggest that while you are here.
Yes, we'll build up step by step, because all of a sudden, if we try to do too much, I think the teachers also have a very limited bandwidth. They can't. They already have a lot of workload.
Yes.
But thank you for your feedback, and I'll keep it in mind.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wanted to say something or has a question or? Any comment? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. It's been a good session. I think 2.5 hours was ideal.
Yeah, 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Are we getting certificates?
Yeah.
Yes.
You feed in the feedback
Yes,
form.
We'll be
Yes.
giving
Yeah.
e-certificates. We'll
We'll
be
pick up the
giving you
names
in-
from the
yeah.
feedback form.
Yeah.
The feedback form has been already posted in the chat box. You can fill that up and submit it. And it might take us a few days because we are in the middle of admissions right now. So after the admissions, we can work on it, and then we will send it to your email.
Okay, thank you.
In the feedback, you can tell us if there's a particular topic that you want to be covered, or or maybe you just want a booklet on it. Any specific thing that you want, that can also be done.
Yeah. In the feedback, there is in the last column, there is briefly describe about the training about the workshop. So you can they can tell what type of trainings they want and etc. for further programs.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.